So the first thing that we're going to want to do, because we have such a limited space, is obviously plan out exactly what we want, because without that, it's going to be very chaotic. So yeah, we made a basic outline of what the front is going to look like, and at first I used a combination of tinted glass and normal glass, but ended up just switching to smooth black glass because it looked more clean. I filled out the rest of the first floor and then started working on the second. This was going to be an ultra modern house and was going to almost look like the second floor was floating, which I felt looked really cool. So I started on the second floor and I used some glass panes just to add some of the depth, because there's not going to be a lot of depth in this build because there's such a little amount of space. So to add as much depth as possible, I had to use interesting methods such as using stairs. Filled in the rest of the sides of the second floor and moved to the front of the house. In the front of the house, I was planning on making a small pool and a surrounding area with some plants and a palm tree. I used white concrete and prismarine to start out, but ended up replacing the white concrete with quartz stairs to make the pool look a little bit bigger. I surrounded it with gray concrete powder and added some little fern plants to the side of the entrance. I made a little glass door and added a little end rod to provide some light. Now we're going to start working on the palm tree. This has to be very small as a palm tree because it's such a small area to build in, and honestly, I think I managed it pretty nicely. The palm tree looks really great, especially in this build. I feel like it really fits the aesthetic that I was going for. Now we're going to start working on the interior, and for the interior I wanted to add as much detail to the floor as possible, so I used birch logs in different patterns. Iron trap doors and carpet for the stairs. This is a very interesting stovetop design because you use hopper minecarts and campfires to make it look like you have that little grate that's usually on top of stoves. I added a vent on top and eventually decided on where to put the oven, and I settled on that design right there. Now we're going to start working on the entrance, and I added a little bookshelf and this really cool modern couch. It looked really nice. I went through a couple of styles before I settled on the one that you see before you now. I had a little table, and eventually I did realize that the snow was melting and eventually replaced it with quartz, but that didn't happen yet. This sectioned off area didn't really work, so I ended up replacing it with a fridge and then made a different sectioned off area. The fridge looks really clean. Now we're going to move to the upstairs. A big problem with this build that I felt while building was that it was so tight. It was really hard to kind of work out where everything was going to go, and I really wanted to make sure that there was a bathroom and a bedroom on this top floor. I didn't really have anything to do with that small space where the staircase was, so I ended up just putting a plant there and a lamp. Now I really had to make sure that the bathroom was actually going to work, so it was very tight, but I eventually got it to work. Unfortunately, there was no room for a sink, so we had to do that outside, which sometimes you do see in houses. Obviously, it was not preferred for me, but I think it ended up working out fine. The bedroom was really interesting, I feel. I added a really cool bed using nether wart blocks or the warped wart blocks and kelp. I added a plant and some modern art, and that was basically it for the interior of the build. I decided to add some finishing touches around the back of the build, just adding some windows when you were going up the stairs. And in the front of the build, I ended up actually deciding to make a little waterfall, just to add some extra detail to the outside. I went through a few designs of how to integrate it into the pool, but eventually I ended up just using more stairs. After that, all I did was just add 2 benches, and that's the entire build.